welcome, guys. I'm Gabriel Washira, real estate development consultant, and here we have. Let him introduce himself.
Yes, my name is Robert Gakumus. I am a site manager and architectural designer.
Thank you. So, Robert, we have interest in, as you have heard, he is a site manager and architectural designer. So we have interest in construction. As you can see, even behind us, we have flooring. We have SPC floors from Immaculate Interiors and Contractors Limited. Now, our government has introduced housing. It has introduced housing as one of the main big projects, and we have to give our inputs on what we think it is all about. So, if I would give a brief update of how the issue is. So, the government has been correcting levies, 1.5%, the housing levy, 1.5% from workers. Then this levy comes with then to build houses. The president William Ruto is targeting like many thousand housing units. He says it's to create job. Other people says it's not. It should not be murder. It should be mandatory. It should not be forced on us. So, as a site manager,
Yes.
I want to hear from Robert. What do you think about these houses and how do you understand it?
Well, maybe the first thing I can say, and this is one point that the president has been trying to make, is actually a constitutional right. If you go to the constitution, I'm not a lawyer, but some part of the constitution says that it's the role of the government. In fact, it's a duty of the government to be able to give every single citizen, every Kenyan citizen, affordable housing. So for me, in as much as the whole idea, the whole conception of the idea is concerned, I think it's quite a noble idea. However, to be honest, we have also to say that, sometimes the way government implements projects is influenced by a lot of things. Is influenced by interest that people, groups in the government, people in charge of these projects, they have other interests, and sometimes these interests are not just to help the Kenyans. So this is something that we must we must understand very properly, very well, and perhaps deal with. Especially Kenya, corruption is one big problem. So when we talk about affordable housing, let it be affordable, and let it also be beneficial to the Kenyan without including corruption inside of these projects.
Okay, thank you so much. We have talked about interests,
Yes.
and the private sector has argued that it is not the responsibility of government to offer affordable housing. For example, you have mortgage that still exists. And do you think the government has a responsibility to be the one to build these houses, or should it be left to the private? Should the government lower the cost of producing raw materials, and the private sector is left for that job? What is your thought as an architect per se?
Well, Gabriel, that's a very good concern you have there, which is true. One might be able to ask, why can't the government, allow the private sector to do what it's been doing for all those years, providing housing, without bringing government in? But also now we have to understand that, you see, the government operates in a different way from the private sector. The private sector is mostly driven by profits. But when you look at the government is not all about profits. Sometimes it's also about efficiency. And in this case of affordable housing, it's even something constitutional that, the constitution that we give to ourselves, it really pins down the responsibility of affording every Kenyan affordable housing as a responsibility of the government. How can the government do that? Well, it can, collaborate with private sector. But this collaboration should also take note that, for example, Gabriel, I don't know if you obviously you rent a house.
Yes, yes, I do.
But when you rent a house, you always pay rent to that house every month.
Yes.
But that does not mean that you actually end up owning that house.
Yes, true, true.
It's basically all the money that you paid to that house is all after that 1 month it's all gone. And you see the mortgage, the sort of the mortgage you talked about mortgage there.
Yes, yes, yes.
The sort of the mortgage programs that we have in Kenya right now. These are not things that actually can guarantee that constitutional right in terms of the pricing. First of all, it's mostly the pricing, because when you tell low-earning Kenyans to contribute to a mortgage that they end up paying 10, 20 million, and then that they have to make first, maybe let's say they ask for an installment of 30% to start with. Of course, you see, already beyond the realm of the average Kenyan. So the good thing with the government's program, and this is something that has been quite, it has been in the works for some time, since even the previous regime, Bomayangu thing, is it's all about, it's a flexible plan, because even with your 200 shillings, you could start to invest right there. So I see that really the government has a role. You ask if the government has a role, or should we leave it to the private sector? But no, I think in this case, the government has a clear role.
Okay, you say the government has a role in creating affordable houses, because even the argument is, it is so not only about housing, it is also about job creation. It is the responsibility of the government to create jobs for people, and also they have the ability to source those materials in bulk and in cheaper prices. But there is this argument that comes about of whether the financing, the government doesn't work in isolation, because it's only two sources of the government has two sources where it can get money, either through taxes or through borrowing. So people argue that it is not their responsibility to contribute to this housing. What is your thought?
You mean it's not the government's responsibility to contribute to?
Oh, sorry, yani people say it's not their responsibility to contribute this levy, that the government should do it. What is your thought?
I don't see. It's really, only Kenyans can be able to build Kenya. When you talk about the government, who is the government? The government is actually people.
It's me and you.
Me and you. You cannot divorce the government from the Kenyans. So I think Kenyans here, they should. I don't see why anybody should be making a point that these Kenyans should not be participating, because the government cannot give you freebies, because the only way it can give you those freebies is if through loans. And those loans, remember, maybe if you are okay with having your future generations having to pay all those loans into the future. But I don't see, I think really Kenyans, we should just learn to be responsible, because there's no way you are going to have a house that you didn't pay for. You have to start contributing right from and support our government. But then there's also that other thing you said about the government creating jobs with this affordable housing thing. Personally, I'm not, that is one point I beg to disagree a bit, because I feel that the government, there's no way you can say the government is, what kind of jobs are you talking about here, first of all?
Sorry.
No, it's not, it's actually a rhetorical question. But you see, the kind of jobs we are talking about here is what we mkono mostly.
They also argue that artisans, architects like you, site managers like you, they talk about those who source those materials from the Juakari sector. They're talking about workers in the approvals, those doing approvals. They also talk about, they go ahead to talk about indirect jobs. Like we have wamama wa kupika who provide the food to watu wa mjengo.
Yes, yes, yes. That's a good point. But for me, the one element I have a problem with in terms of because not everybody really is an artisan. So most of these people are going to be watu wa mkono, and you see, there's an inherent problem with watu wa mkono jobs, to be honest, and that's where my problem is when it comes to construction, because you see, most of the world is moving to mechanization and using. And when you look at these Django jobs that people are doing, these are jobs, especially the manual ones. These are jobs that are causing people to retire at 40 years because their spine is gone and they have no. And I have made this point in another TikTok video I made, but really, when we talk about jobs, let's also be careful. Let's also say that this is also an opportunity for us to revolutionize the mjengo industry, the mjengo work. Let's adopt machinery and everything. And some people disagree with me. They say ukianza kuweka machine does the work for 10 people. But if that work is causing this person to retire at 30 or at 40 because they were under so much pressure, I don't see it's actually counterproductive. So, but otherwise, in terms of all what other the indirect jobs you talked about, I agree, it's a good initiative, but I don't think that this is it's not one trick that can solve the unemployment problem in Kenya. Let's be honest, we need to start right from the basics in terms of education and in terms of our education system before even we start talking about which specific industries will produce these jobs.
Okay, thank you so much. Before the next question, I request you to come closer a little bit, so for the recording purposes. Yeah, I think we are in a good position. Then, yes, it's a good initiative. Then, in everything, when government is implementing its agenda, there's the political intrigues. Obviously, people try to look at holes through the constitution. In Kenya, we have checks and balances. So we have a group of people who went to court, and through the constitution 2010, to give people power to check on government. So these people, having gone to court, the court of appeal, so far they went to the high court, then they went to the court of appeal. They see that the procedure was unconstitutional. But the president, on the other hand, continues to say that the project should continue because it is creating jobs. So, maybe have you familiarized yourself with the proceedings of what is happening, and what do you think you should advise if it's a good initiative, according to how you have said it? What would you advise the government to do to make sure that this housing agenda is not disrupted by procedures from the court?
Yes, I think I agree with you. Sometimes, and there's this saying that man was not made for law. Law is the law that I think that's how the saying goes. It's the law that was made for man. No, it's the yes, law is made for man, not the other way around. So if you think about it, if some of these laws of public, I don't know which specific laws did they cite that were not followed. I'm not sure, but sometimes you don't want to tie the president's hands or the hands of anybody just because of technicalities in law. Not unless this thing is fundamentally unconstitutional and threatens the constitutional order. I don't see. Sometimes let's also be a bit. Let's relax our rigidity a bit and understand that some of these programs, they have far-reaching effects, and we should really support. Let's. Sometimes I think initiatives like this they only come once in a while. I think this is something that has been tried to be implemented by the last regime. The last 4 regimes have not been able to do it. Then we now start to cut the legs with all these technicalities in laws. I mean, let's also the judges, they should be less rigid and be open to
The reality of our times.
realities of our times.
Thank you. That was a good response.
Yeah.
So the main argument, I think, before the court was that there is no regulations or an act that shows how this housing levy should be corrected, how these houses should be assigned to. And I think that is something that our members of parliament should take charge and make a role. What do you think? Do you think our registrators, so far they are in office 1 year, they are unable to make such a role for such important initiative? What do you think?
Yes, this is also another, problem with Kenyan siasa, because you see these people, they are not the MPs. When you see them there, most of them, they did not go there so that they make the best laws. Actually, the very few MPs go there to, you can name them like Akina Okia Mtata, those people that are really interested in creating laws. Very few of them, but the rest are really just there for siasa and political, maneuvering, which has been a big problem. And then remember, when I talked about the laws, that the laws should serve us, well, I should also reiterate that in as much as the laws serve us, it also cuts both sides. So the president here should not be, or the president's people, whoever is supporting these government projects, they should also take a listen. They should also, I assume that if all these learned judges, they are talking about a regulatory framework, first of all, is there such a regulatory framework? Because Kenya, of course, is it something like 30% of our budget gets lost through corruption? So if this is an honest endeavor to end corruption, or I mean to make sure that the housing fund or the housing levy is accounted for, well, by all means, they should do it. So I agree. Maybe the parliament should be doing more in that regard.
Obviously, members of parliament should do a little more to ensure that if the government has such an important agenda that is their main agenda, they should have legislative proposals. They should take that to the floor of the house, make a bill, and it is signed into an act, so that at least we can know what this animal called affordable housing is all about.
Yes.
Yes. So before we end, I think we are good about that. Robert, before we end this conversation, I would want you to tell us what you do, and if people would want to work with you, what can you do for them in real estate development? What are your areas of specialization? So that maybe someone wants to do something and you are here.
Yes. So as I'd said before, I'm actually a construction manager by training. So my main role is to lead teams on site to be able to implement all kinds of construction works, including interior fittings, general building, water engineering works, really any kind of construction work we can imagine. Then I have also this great passion and great skills with architectural design. So people come to me with ideas, and then I'll turn those ideas into actual visualizations and plans and help them get their dream projects going. This is mostly in regards to homes. So if you've got an extension, you're looking to do a modification, a new construction, you've got a piece of land somewhere you are thinking of putting up, some residentials, all of that, you just come and give me an idea. You can, maybe we can link my Fiverr profile here. Fiverr is an online job board. That's where mostly I work from. So you just share your ideas and watch me, bring those ideas to life.
Thank you. So I think we'll drop your Fiverr link in the link below,
Yes.
so that people can see what you do. And maybe I can ask you, what are your certifications?
Well, I am a certified construction manager. I belong to the Association of Construction Managers of Kenya. So that is a professional body for construction managers in Kenya right now.
What did you do in campus?
I actually did a Bachelor of Construction Management
From the University of
yes,
Nairobi.
from the university.
And he didn't tell you that he went to Jiris Boys High School?
Oh yeah.
For me, I can't mention it because I was in a pouring station, so I don't think I don't. I even regret introducing this debate because it can be.
Giri's High School is also a polling station, I think.
No, I don't think it is a pouring station. It is known to many. I think who was there's a famous guy who was a famous guy. Was he who was in Jiris? Jonjo. Where did was it? Not in social studies. There was a history of a very famous man.
Was that?
I think it was Charles.
It was a Charles, but I don't think it's Jojo.
Tell us in the comments whether Charles Jojo went to Jiri. So
Definitely.
who it was. So thank you so much. Okay, you can.
Yes. Anyway, thanks so much, Gabriel, for having me. You know, we've been wanting to do these discussions, and we will continue doing a lot of them in the near future. So thanks for this opportunity, and I hope we can do more and educate people more and talk about these issues and broader issues that face our societies more.
Thank you. That was Gabriel, a real estate development consultant. I specialize in selling interior fittings. I'm also into real estate, selling of plots. We work with a very legit company, Nawiri Properties Limited. You can check on the social media platforms, and you will be blessed. Thank you for now. We meet next time. God's blessings. Asanteni sana. Bye.